Greetings from the Mentorship Project. This is Aditi Pandey, and this session is regarding how to crack an NLSAT examination, that is the entrance test conducted by NLSIU Bangalore for the 3-year LLB program. We have with us Mr. Goutam Das today, who will share his journey as well as his tips and tricks to tackle this examination to reach your dream law school. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for taking out your time for this session. We're really thankful for the same.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So, sir, it is very cliche for any interviewer to give a monologue on their credentials of the toppers. So I wanted to go the other way around, and आपसे अच्छा शायद ही आपको कोई और जानता होगा. So I would request you to please introduce yourself while also mentioning your educational background. It would be really great.
My name is Goutam Das, and I did my bachelor's in history honors from Delhi University. After that, I was interested in law. So by the time I completed my graduation, this was the 2022 was the first year when NLSAT examination was introduced. So I applied for that one, and I prepared around 4 months, and now I am studying at NLS, doing LLB honors.
Thank you so much, sir. And preparation aspect में जाने से पहले, I would like to know how law school is treating you. आपने जो law school के बारे में सोचा था कि law school ऐसा होगा, अब आप आ गए हैं तो आपको कैसा लग रहा है वहाँ पे? How is it different from what you thought it would be like?
NLSIU is especially a distinct law school as compared to any other school. First of all, the resources that students have here is way more compared to other law school. For example, there are journals where students can publish, and those journals are published by the university themselves itself. Then the course is interdisciplinary, so students learn social sciences, history, political science, economics, and many other things. Third, as compared to other NLUs, here there are courses like Masters in Public Policy. So students can interact with the other students who are studying from in another discipline and get a lot of knowledge. So teachers, there is a diversity among teachers. Teachers also, some are specialized in social sciences, and there are other law school itself will have law faculty. So lots of diversity is there in NLS. So this makes it a distinct place to study.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. अब अगर हम एग्जाम के एस्पेक्ट के बारे में बात करें तो आप थोड़ा बता सकते हैं कि NLSAT एग्जामिनेशन जो है वो क्या है, उसकी एलिजिबिलिटी क्या है, वो एग्जाम है क्या, उसमें क्या क्या सेक्शंस हैं एग्जामिनेशन में, what are the maximum marks for each section, how is the sections divided, उस पे थोड़ा सा if you can help us, it would be really great, sir.
Oh, in the NLSAT exam, so anybody who has done graduation in any branch, whether engineering or social science or anything, they are eligible for the exam. And the minimum criteria, the eligibility criteria is that the person should have 45% percentage in the graduation in his graduation or her graduation for general category, and 40% for rest of the categories.
All right.
So the exam of NLSAT is divided into two parts. Part A basically is an MCQ exam. It's an objective exam where passages are given, and those passages will mostly be from the newspapers, or mostly will be from newspapers that have some legal aspects, and the questions will be divided into some questions will be comprehensive type, some will be critical reasoning type, and so this is the pattern of part A. And in the part B, it's a subjective exam. So in the part B, there will be one question for which the student will have to write an essay for 500-word essay, and that will basically deal with some public debates that are happening. So anybody who is preparing for annals, that the best way to prepare is to read newspaper and be aware of what is happening in India. What are the things that public debate is conducted? So what is the issue that is being dealt by the intellectuals who write for public forums through newspapers or through journals or through magazines. So the being aware of these things is very important for part B. And part B will also contain 6 questions, 10 marks each, which will ask students to take a position on certain. So this will be this will be problem-based questions. So they will ask students take a position in a particular fact scenario or in a particular problem scenario. So this is the pattern of part B. Both part A and part B will have 75% weightage, and from this in our times we only need to clear part A. Part A's marks was not added to the final rank list, but from this period, from this years onward, both part A and part B will contribute to the final rank list. So this is the pattern change that has happened this year. Another pattern change that has happened this year is that last year we had interview, that that section has been removed. Interview part has been removed from this year. So this is the basic pattern. Its notification is in the website of the university. So
So उसमें कौन-कौन से sections ऐसे होंगे जो जैसे आपने बताया multiple choice questions are there. So in that sections are divided. For instance, in CLAT it's like English and mathematics, logical reasoning. This way sections are divided, or it's a general MCQ based paper.
it will not be just MCQ. So what will it contain is that there will be passages in this section also. Mostly there will be it. Most probably what will happen is that there will be there is an exam that NLU Delhi conducts, AILET. So
Yes,
there they have passages, and from the passages that themselves 5 questions will be there.
Okay.
Out of 5 questions, some questions will be related to critical reasoning, some questions will be comprehensive type, some questions will test the grammar. So grammar will not be there in the NLSAT. So uh, and some of the questions and the current affairs. So some of the questions will ask the student about the background. So if the mostly the questions will be from newspaper or magazines. So the students are expected to know what is happening, current affairs. The students are expected to know about the events that are happening. So they will ask, check the knowledge, general knowledge or current affairs is from the passage itself. So what is the background of the passage? Who has written it? What is being referred to? So for example, if it is being referred to some event, so what are the background events for that event? So these are the this is how questions will be patterned, passage will be given, and 5 or 6 questions from the passage itself will be there. Some of those questions will deal with comprehension, some of them will deal with current affairs, some of them will deal with critical reasoning.
All right, sir. So आपकी approach क्या थी एग्जाम को prepare करने के लिए? How did you approach exactly that you want to, how will you prepare? What was your preparation strategy? The basic strategy that you had in your mind?
So I started preparing 4 months before the exam.
Okay.
So the basic, first of all, what is important is to read whatever the requirements that are there, and the best place to go for it is the website itself. There they mention what do they want from the student. So part A and part, so they have give clear details of what they requires in the answer. So for example, in the essay questions, what they are saying is that they are expecting well written arguments and cogent arguments. So the essay should have the flow of the essay should be very good, and the arguments should link to each other. So these are the inferences that we draw from whatever the details of the exam that are given in the website. From there, so if we go through the details of the exam, one thing that is clear is that what they are asking is being aware of the general events, what is happening there.
Okay.
So to be aware of those events, what is most important is to read newspapers, some major newspapers like the Hindu or the Indian Express, especially the middle part where editorial and op-ed is there. That gives a very clear idea of what is the most discussed issue in the public debate. So this is how we get to know. So the the NLSAT paper will most of the there are some sections that will be very tough, like critical reasoning, and there are other sections. Uh, there are certain types of questions which will carry most of the marks. So NLSAT uh, part part A has three sections like comprehension and current affairs, and part B also has legal aptitude and reasoning, which will ask questions uh, related to argument and analytic ability. So what the details shows is that being aware of the public debates and reading newspaper regularly should be the basic focus to should be the basic way to deal with comprehension and current affairs question. As regarding critical reasoning and other things, these are these are a bit tough topics. So students will have to first of all give them time only after they prepare for the most important things and the most easy things. And to prepare after going through them, then they should go for critical reasoning and other things. So while when I was preparing for my NLSAT exam, apart from newspaper, the study material that I choose is that so GMAT, a lot of international coaching institutes provides study material for GMAT exam,
Right.
and GMAT contains uh, comprehension sections and other things. So one of the coaching institutes study material, Veritas, I found out it. So Veritas Coaching Institute, they produces study materials for comprehension, essay writing, critical reasoning, and analytical reasoning, and I went through them. One of the best thing about them is these coaching institutes study material is that they are not too much big. They are very their study materials are very short, and they contain up to the point materials. They don't contain too much problems also. So what the problem with a lot of reasoning books and others that are in the market, especially in India, is that they are very big, and when we see them for the first time, we become confused how to
Right.
complete this much within time. And that problem also contains questions, 500, 600 questions in one chapter. So this makes it very difficult to uh, choose what is a variety of questions or
Exactly.
what are the most important types of questions. So these are the problems that we face. So uh, while searching for how to get study materials, I found out Veritas study materials to be very helpful. Second thing is that Cambridge University or some of the law schools take exams. They also take law exams where they check the comprehension and the analytical and reasoning ability of students. So basically, Cambridge and UK has national law aptitude test, whose question paper we can find through net, and their model answers are sometimes given by the university themselves or some international coaching institutes. So if we go through those materials, we will be able to understand how to form arguments. We go through the model answers, and we will also have a wide, very good quality, wide variety of questions which we can practice. So this was my uh, strategy that I developed over the four months period that when I devoted to analysis.
राइट सर। सो नाउ आपने जैसे बताया कि एमसीक्यू एस्पेक्ट जिसमें पैसेजेस आते हैं, दैट इज अ डिफरेंट सेक्शन, एंड योर ओपिनियन बेस्ड राइटिंग essays is a different section. So how you used to manage your time, how you used to divide your entire day or your 4 months by while simultaneously preparing for writing essays and practicing these MCQ sort of questions?
MCQ will have passage. So basically, students will have to go through the passage in a very fast way. So
Right.
they will have to grasp the essay in a very short period of time. That's why reading, keeping current affairs, newspapers and magazines to be the focus of the study, being them the focus of the study is very important. So when we go through editorial, we should take it as a chance that we are preparing for NLSAT. So how will we do it? We will go through the editorial very fast. We need not know the everything. So the editorial may deal with some very specific thing. Let's say public education. We need not know uh, much about public education, but what we can do is that we can go through the passage and find out what are some of the central arguments that are being made by the author, how the author is progressing through the arguments. So what is the structure of the essay? What are the important points that the author makes? And we can make, after reading it, we can make a note of it. Or let's say not, we may not even make a note, but since this is an issue of public debate, more articles will be written to it. So
Right.
within a week, we will find for a particular topic, we will find that 2-3 essays has been written, editorial has been written in the newspaper. Let's say we are only focusing on the Hindu or the Indian Express. So what we can do is that we can read the essays for whole week, and on the last day of the week, we can create a simulated examination condition.
Okay.
Let's say that we will write half a page essay within 15 minutes.
Okay, sir.
By ourselves. So I am focusing mostly on those students who are going to prepare it by self-study. So they will, on the last day of the week, they will find out what are the most important, most discussed topics in the newspaper, and they will write essays for them during the weekend and leave the essays for 1 or 2 days.
Right.
And after 1 or 2 days, they will again go through their own essays, and they will be able to find that they need certain improvements over their essays, whatever they have written. So it might be lacking in grammatic. So there might be grammatical mistakes. There might be argumentative flaw in the argument or break in the argument. The essay might not be very well structured. So they will be able to figure it out. So how will they will be able to figure it out? Because their reading of the editorials in the newspaper will help them. So they will be able to compare what they have read from what they have written.
Right.
And the gap that they have given, the students have given for 1 or 2 days, they have not looked for their essays. Within that gap period, they will be able to dissociate themselves from the essays that they have written. So they will be better able to critically check their essays. So this is how they can improve. Now, the problem comes with newspaper is that uh, students may focus on every part of the newspaper. Since newspaper, the number of pages will be 23, 24.
Right.
So should students read all of the portions of the newspaper? No. The thing is that just going through headlines in the first page and the second page or in the international page should be the first step. Second step is whatever interest that student has. So that if the student is interested in sports, so if the student can go through a sports section. After that, this should maximum at max take 10 to 20 minutes. The student need not read any of the particular contents of the headlines. The students can directly go into the editorial page. When we read newspaper regularly, we are able to know that whether the editorial of this particular day is related to the previously discussed articles. Is the editorial that has been written today, is it in response to the previous editorial? So in this way, we are able to figure out what are the important things that are being discussed in the public arena. And so then we also able to find out what which of the content in the editorial page to read, whether to read editorial or to read op-ed or to read opinion pages or to read the thing that has been discussed by the newspaper editorial team. So we can find out which thing particular thing to is most important in today's newspaper, and we can devote today's time on that topic. After going through this, we can go through some of the important news in detail. So newspaper reading will can mostly we can complete it within one year and 1 hour, and we should not give more time than that the to the newspaper itself. And then we can go to the uh, study materials like Veritas study materials or LSAT, Law School Admission Test, or LNET, Law National Aptitude Test. These are the test series that are international test series, and they contain very good quality of critical reasoning, comprehension, essay type questions. Attempting those question papers as if we are actually taking exam, that is very most important. So attempting questions paper within the a time limit that has been prescribed in the question paper itself. So this uh, gives a student the confidence and the practice that is required before attempting the actual exam. In subjective exam, what the one of the most uh, important thing is that many times our hands shake while writing subjective question papers, because we might not have prepared for the exam well, and then when we are suddenly given the question paper, then out of nervousness we are not able to complete the question papers within time because our hands shake or we become too much nervous, so we are not we don't able to get properly what the question is asking us to do. So these are the some of the things that are important while preparing for the exam.
सर, आपने जैसे बताया कि इंग्लिश में आपको एसेज लिखने पड़ते थे. So somebody who is coming from not an English background or their English is not that good, how can that person work on making their essays more comprehensive? कि उनकी फ्लो अच्छी हो इंग्लिश में और उनके एसेज का एक स्ट्रक्चर क्या हो सकता है, उस पे कैसे काम कर सकते हैं? उस पे अगर if you can help थोड़ा.
So Veritas study materials contains a study material on how to write an essay, and they also have one study material on English grammar. So those who have basic knowledge of English and if they want to improve their English grammar, that grammar book is very important. Apart from that, the essay writing study material, it contains a lot of important tips and tricks as to how to write a well structured and good essay. Secondly, while writing an essay, uh, not only we need to know the structure, how essay should be written, what are its structure, how to frame arguments and other things. We also need to know the knowledge, the background knowledge about the essay. So most of the NLSAT questions will particularly focus on what are there in the public domain, what is being discussed there. So it will be related to law, society, politics, and other such types of issues. So having general knowledge about these things, general awareness about these things will come from reading the newspapers and magazines themselves. So they will form the basic knowledge through which we can the knowledge that we will fit in our arguments while writing the essay. So going through that Veritas study material on how to write essay, along with reading regularly newspapers and checking whether we are making grammatical mistakes by reading the grammatical uh, English grammar book by Veritas. These three combinations will help us to tackle the essay question well.
All right, sir. सो इसमें ऐसे में भी एक एस्पेक्ट है कि आपको पॉलिटिक्स पे भी आता है कुछ कुछ राइट अप्स, सो उसमें इज इट नेसेसरी टू नॉट राइट अ वेरी ओपिनियनेटेड ऐसे, जैसे कुछ लोगों का बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग स्टैंड होता है कुछ
No,
पार्टीज से रिलेटेड, सो आपको एक ओपिनियनेटेड ऐसे लिखना लाउड होता है या आपको एक बैलेंस्ड ऐसे लिखना पड़ता है विच
yeah.
हैज टू बी?
If we are giving certain opinion in our question paper, but we are not substantiating it with arguments, then what's the
ओके,
point of writing opinion essays? So that is most
एग्जैक्टली,
important. We can take any position. In
ओके,
fact, if we don't take any position, the questions will ask us to take any position. The questions in
ओके,
the part B will be framed in such a manner that we are required to take one position. So if we don't take one position, then our own arguments will contain contradictions, and that will fail us. So we
ओके,
will have to take one position.
ऑलराइट,
After taking one position, we will have to substantiate our arguments, uh, our opinion with very well with arguments. So even if we take any opinion, what is most important is that are we able to give strong arguments in support of it?
ओके,
Secondly, while writing essays, particularly in essay section, we need to anticipate the counterpoints of our own arguments
ओके,
and uh, answer them right away. So this is also important while actually practicing law, that we need to figure out previously what counter arguments will come from the other side,
राइट,
and we need to prepare it right away before filing our application and complaints and other thing, or before arguing in front of court. If the similar thing is required for NLSAT exam, especially in the essay section, if we are arguing for a particular positions, there will be counter arguments to our own position. Now we will have to write that my position will anticipate this counter arguments. My arguments to those counter arguments will be this. So this is how the essay will be, even though it will be very much opinionated, even though it will be focused particular on, it will take a particular stand on a particular issue. Uh, it will be persuasive. So writing persuasive essays is more important rather than opinionated essays.
ओके सर। सो आपने जैसे इसमें बताया कि एसेज लिखना और उसका स्ट्रक्चर, सो आपने कितने एसेज ऐसे घर पे फॉलो किए? हाउ मेनी एसेज यू रोट लाइक व्हेन यू वर प्रैक्टिसिंग? कैन यू लाइक टेल अस हाउ डिड यू अप्रोच दिस एसे एस्पेक्ट? उसकी प्रैक्टिस आपने कितनी की? कहाँ से टेस्ट सीरीज ले सकते हैं इसकी प्रैक्टिस कराने? आपने किसी और से रीड करवाए अपने एसेज फॉर एन आंसर, लाइक फॉर एन ओपिनियन ऑन हाउ वेल you are writing it?
So that's the thing. So when we read newspaper regularly, we so within a particular day, within a particular week, we will find that on a particular issue, 2-3 editorials have been written, 2-3 op-eds have been written.
Okay.
Newspaper editorial team has also written on. So we get to know what is the basic arguments that they are making on this issue. Now we move beyond newspapers to magazines or to journals. Let's not go to journal because they are too much academic oriented. So let's say we are focusing on some magazines like Police Project or Caravan or some other magazines to read a detailed, to get a detailed view about this issue, what is being discussed. Or we go to some online news outlets like print.in, The Wire, or the
Okay.
scroll.in. So from these sources also, we get more arguments and the more details about this particular issue. So
Hmm.
now we know about a particular issue and what are being discussed around that issue.
Hmm.
The student can then formulate a question
Okay.
around that issue, and then the student can devote 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Let's say the students decide that within 30 minutes I will write 3-page essay on it. So the students will write a 3-page essay. After that, the students will go through this essay. The better way to do it is to leave the essay for 1 or 2 days, and then after 1 or 2 days, they again review it.
Okay.
So when we again review it, then we actually know how the things that we have read. So whatever we have read, we also focus on how the author has written subconsciously. And then when we, after 2 or 3 days, when we read our own essay, then we compare mentally whatever I have written to what I have read. So through this, we get uh, the flaws in our own essay, which we
Okay.
improve for next while writing the next essay. So the last month of my NLSAT exam, I devoted last one half 1.5 month. I devoted some 30 minutes in 2 3 days to writing essays and such. So I used to write essays in 1 or 2 days, one essay in 1 or 2 days. So this was my approach.
All right. तो एक और कंसेप्शन है सभी का कि जो लॉ के जो एंट्रेंस टेस्ट होते हैं दे आर मेजरली एप्टीट्यूड बेस्ड सो योर प्रायर नॉलेज विल नॉट रियली हेल्प यू इन द एग्जाम रादर वर्किंग ऑन योर एप्टीट्यूड स्किल्स विल सो डू यू अग्री विद दिस कि
Yeah,
एप्टीट्यूड जिन बच्चों का ऑलरेडी है वो इसमें ज्यादा एक्सेल कर पाते हैं और यू कैन बिल्ड इन योर एप्टीट्यूड आप प्रैक्टिस से भी अपना एप्टीट्यूड एस कर सकते हैं
yeah. I mean, students build their aptitude through practice itself. There
ओके
is no sure. Those who have aptitude, they have aptitude because they have actually devoted their time to think about issues. Even if they are not, even if they may not have devoted any time to analyze, they might be reading very detailed books about certain issues, and then they might be thinking about those things. And that's how they are able to come up with very persuasive arguments in a very short period of. So
राइट
that's the thing. We have four, or we will have after notice. Let's say we will prepare after notification of the NLSAT.
राइट
This year it came on 16th January. So after that day, we will start preparing for the exam, and for that we will read many of the stuffs. Now there are certain exams like Cambridge law test has been discontinued now. Now it's so, but still there are question papers that we can find through internet of the Cambridge law test earlier. In the Cambridge admission law test, they used to ask students to write similar argumentative essay, aptitude essays uh, that didn't require any prior knowledge of the issue. They used to give some random topics to the student, and they used to ask the students to argue for that particular topic. So let's say that in Western societies, there was one of these are some of the questions that are there. In Western society, arranged marriages should be discontinued, or let's say that government should not ban drug
ओके
or marijuana. So these are the one-line topics that used to be that the Cambridge law test contained, and the student needed to write argumentative essays either in support or in opposition to that particular topic. So these test papers, they provide us with many of such types of topics which we can attempt. The only drawback is that they are many times situated in the particular country, so they will be mostly dealing with
राइट
what is in the public debate in UK.
राइट
So that that uh, that is the problem that we might face, but it will be compensated by our general reading of the magazines and newspaper. So on the one hand, we might be trying to write arguments based on UK's context. So we may not know much thing, then we will have to just focus much more on arguments. On the other hand, we will be reading about Indian context itself. So in the exam, when we will have the in part B, the legal aptitude questions, we will be able to write them in a very better manner because through the practice of test series, we will have the practice of writing argumentative essays, and through the reading regular newspaper reading and essays, we will also have a knowledge of the Indian context itself. So that those will help certainly help in the uh, examination. This is because we may not find too many materials on the topics for the legal aptitude. So we may
Right.
not have too much question sets out there. We can Some students can arrange or ask from those who are studying at NLS for the previous year's questions paper through the so they can access that um, through them. But even then, there is not no much material out there for particularly for the part B section which deals with legal reasoning.
Okay. So, और जैसे आपने बताया आप न्यूज़पेपर्स पढ़ते थे, so you used to take down notes also on a regular basis from newspaper or other websites, maintaining a notebook on date-wise basis. You used to do this practice, or you used to just read and getting an overview?
Note making, I mean, note making is important, but not too much note making. So
Okay.
if we when we are reading some uh, when we encounter some facts which looks like important for the exam. So what will be important for the exam? Those which will be current affairs. What is important in current affairs is what is happening in the country, in the political, social, or legal issue. What important judgment has been delivered? What important bill has been passed? What meetings, general meetings, or whatever guidelines that have been issued by important ministries and other things. These are the important things that comes under current affairs. So while preparing for exam, it is better to take note of these things. Secondly, there are certain magazines that come like Pratyogita Darpan and other such types of magazines, which focuses for a particular month, whatever have been the important plannings and policies of the government or the meetings of the government or the important decisions. They compile it in one particular book or booklet, so we can read those magazines also to get a no, firm knowledge of what is what important things that have happened in this month, and we can create our own notes also. This is for MCQ, tackling MCQ and current affairs. Tackle When we come to reading editorials, we need only to take note of important points that are being discussed. What are the important arguments that are being made? And while writing essay, we can refer to these important points. While writing essays by ourselves, essay, we can refer to these important points, and we can structure our essays according to that. So this strategy, I think, will be sufficient.
All right. सर इतना सब कुछ पढ़ने के बाद बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस भी हो जाता है. So how you used to manage your stress? Like I'm sure that you must be under pressure also to clear this exam, how badly you wanted it. So what was your recourse to stress? How you used to manage it? आप कोई sport खेलते थे या walk पे जाते थे? How you used to manage it?
The best thing that I found to manage is that, first of all, if we are doing something, there must be some reason for that. So,
Right.
what is my reason to get into analysis? And it should not be just because analysis is first ranking institute. There must be more than that. Why do we want to do law and other things? So this is are what gives us initial push towards doing something. Now, when we regularly make our schedule to uh, study something, so when we get actually into studying, when we make a habit of, not habit, when we continue practicing something or preparing some exam, after a point of time, we build an attachment to that exam because we have devoted a certain period of time to it. So this hard work itself creates a sort of a motivation. So
Right.
there is no substitute to these things. Having a very clear goal or clear idea why do we want to do something, not very clear, but some strong impulsive persuasive arguments or some uh, it, persuasive thoughts as to why we want to go into analysis, and hard work, regular hard work, which will create a itself create a loop of motivation that we require for the exam. And we need not give all time to this exam. We can manage this exam even by reading 6 hours one day. But reading continue regularly reading 6 hours is way more important than giving 12 hours in a day and not studying for 3 hours at all. So these are the some of the important things that motivate us towards any competitive exam, I think.
And sir, do you think that somebody who is in their final year of BCom or BTech or any, whichever course they are doing, do they require their preparation to begin then itself, like in their final year or in their college itself, or they can manage in 6 months of preparation or 7 months of preparation, or maybe
Well,
after notification, as you said?
uh, so if we are so let's say the students want to prepare for next year NLCD, but if the students read newspaper right away, so whatever from now onwards, this may not be helpful for the exam because
Right.
the exam will be whenever the questions paper for the exam will be set. The teachers who are setting the exam, they will look into what is right now happening. So
All right.
they may not, these things may not be relevant. So if somebody is starting way earlier, they may focus on grammar, comprehension, arguments, and writing some sort of general essays or making a habit of reading, general reading.
All
So
right.
uh, if somebody has a habit of general reading, or general, if the person, if the students regularly reads journal, or if not journal, some books, they actually uh, have a very important advantages for the exam because
All right.
first of all they already have a reading habit, regular reading habit. They also have already a bit of a knowledge or understanding of in-depth understanding, since books gives in-depth understanding as compared to newspapers and other things. So uh, they are able to think through the issues very deeply. So these are the things that the student can develop if the student wants to prepare it, start preparing it way early. But hardly 1 or 2 hours will be sufficient if, somebody wants to start it 12 months prior to the exam. I think after notification comes, uh, that a student can consider that point to be the indication that the student needs to give too much emphasis for the exam itself. So rather than giving 2 hours or 1 hour, the student should increase it to 4 or 5 hours. And while going towards nearer to the exam, the student can progressively increase it to 8 hours. So when the student is 1 month away from the exam, they can devote 8 hours or 7 hours for the exam. So this is, uh, I don't think that NLSAT will require more than 4 months of regular study. But there are some of the habits. So habits have much power over us. Students can develop regular reading habit way earlier. It will be better for then it will be better for them to adapt to the exam
All
when it
right.
is very nearer.
All right. देन लास्ट सेकंड लास्ट क्वेश्चन आई वुड से कि आप
Mhm.
कैसे टिप्स देना चाहेंगे स्टूडेंट्स को कि वो अपना टाइम कैसे मैनेज करे एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में, क्योंकि वहाँ बहुत प्रेशर होता है एंड हाउ सम पीपल इवन इफ दे आर नोइंग व्हाट टू अटेम्प्ट एंड हाउ टू अटेम्प्ट दे fail due to the amount of stress that is imposed on them. So how you managed it and how you aced it?
Well, attempting any question, the most important thing to manage is the nervousness and fear itself. And that
Right.
can only happen if we uh, ourselves try to create simulated examination conditions.
Okay.
So we take some test papers, we we fix particular time period that within 20 minutes or 1 hour, I am going to solve this section of the question paper. I will
Right.
not in any case extend the time. So these are how the practice, the test series matter. So even if somebody is wants to prepare by self-study, if they take test paper of coaching institutes, provided that they do research beforehand about the coaching institutes themselves, because most of the coaching institutes do not uh, guide students well. So if they get get to know about some very good coaching institute that provides very good preparation, and their test series are very much relevant for the not too much. They don't they need not set too much tough question paper. They just need to set relevant question paper for the exam, and relevance the student will be able to gauge whether it is relevant or not by going through the details of the exam that are being provided in the website or the previous year's question paper. So previous year's question paper are most important to uh, mo- sure sort thing to know about the pattern of an exam. So
Right.
through that, the students can find out which coaching institute provides good question, test series,
Yes.
and they can attempt those test series. If they don't want to do so, they can uh, themselves uh, choose some of the test paper, but that will require choosing from many of the test papers, like say National LLSAT for critical reasoning and comprehension questions, Cambridge Law Test for argumentative type, and assess by themselves. They need to formulate how to practice assess by themselves. So this is how the student can, before attempting the exam, get prepared for the pressures of the actual exam, where there are trade-offs involved between time management or reading the essay. So that will help in containing our nervousness. Then, when we are in the exam, there are important. So, if the question is objective type, first let's tackle objective question paper. In objective question paper, there are some of the questions that will be very easy. So, when we are reading the passage, many of the comprehension questions that will be there, we can right away get their answer while reading the passage itself. So, to tackle those kinds of MCQ questions, the best thing is to first go through the questions themselves. So when we go through the questions, we before reading the passage, we know what are the things that we need to focus on in the passage. Now, when we go through the after reading the question papers, questions, MCQs, we go through the passage and we underline the important paragraphs or line where we find that here my question, answers of the questions lie. So we underline those questions. But some of the questions are so easy that we can answer it while reading the passage, and some of the questions are tough. So, for example, critical reasoning will be very tough, the most toughest part of the exam. In MCQ and in competitive exam, the students will need to balance between attempting the question, even though they may get answer. The students will still have to trade off between attempting the questions or leaving it, moving to easy questions. Where in which strategy in a particular question will provide them an edge for the exam. So if the question is very tough and it will take a lot of time to get answer to it, to formulate answer to it, or to get correct answer to it, that question can be left by the exam. This is for objective type, MCQ type, because leaving tough questions is which will take a lot of time is always better. And right away focusing on the easy and the moderate part is very important, because what we are basically striving for is having a rank list, coming into the rank list rather than clearing the or knowing the answers of all of the questions. So this is the strategy for attempting passage based MCQ. First go through the question papers, then go through the passage, underlying those portions of the passage where we know that we might find the answers of the questions, straight away answering the easy questions, and just marking the tough questions that we don't have well, time right now to attempting this question. If I get time after the exam, after going through the question paper, then I will attempt it. So rather than just mark a star for those questions that we are going to attempt in the last two. If any question is taking too much time, straight away just neglect the question and move on. This is the strategy for MCQ. When we come to the subjective subjective type question paper, here again, the initial strategy should be the same. Understanding in objective, so in MCQs, passages for MCQs, we need not grasp everything the essays wants. And question paper is not set in that way that we need to know everything about the passage. Many times, if we know about the structure, important argument, that will be sufficient, because we may, even if we are from social science background, the passage may be from natural science itself. So we are not expected to know natural science for the exam. What we basically need is to know the basic flow of the article. So whereas when we come to subjective question paper, there understanding the questions become very important. Understanding the passage, what particular things are being asked us by us in the question is very important. So question facts that are given in that we are expected to include in our arguments, these are very important to grasp. And one of the most important things to do in objective type is to at least write something. The worst thing is to not write anything. Even if we are able to write, so we have only 1 minute left and we have to go through one very big passage and write a subjective answer to it. We should at least write one which we consider most important thing about the passage. By going through the passage, what we felt to be the most important thing, even if we write one line of it, there is a scope that that argument may be the most important argument of the passage. And even if we have not written much about it, they will give us those who evaluator will give us, if not 5, 6, at least 3 marks. So one should never left unattempted the subjective question papers. Subjective question papers should always be attempted. So these are the basic things that that are important for the exam. Another thing is how to manage time between subjective and the objective portion. In my time, subject part A of the exam didn't carry any marks for the final rank list. That's why I started from first attempting the part B of the exam. Then I went to part A. So even if I get very low number in the part A, if I come under the rank list of top 300 students, my paper will be checked, and in the final rank list, the whatever marks that I have obtained in the part A, that will not be required. But now, from this year's onward, interview has been removed, and part A uh, will also carry its weight to the final rank list. So then we will have to apportion a proper time for part A and proper time for part B. How to apportion them? So, what's the strategy of apportioning time? This is what we get to know when we actually prepare or continuously attempt practice tests. Then we get to know that how much time does it take for us to answer a particular type of question, and there we start figuring out what how should we apportion time to various sections. General strategy is that attempting easy and the moderate questions and leaving out tough MCQs if we get time after the exam to attempt. So these are the general things that students do. How to actually do in the particular exam paper, that we get to know when we practice regularly.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Your final words for the aspirants, जो आपकी टिप होगी या आप जो बोलना चाहते हैं अपने कोर्स से सारे aspirants को, एक मैसेज आपकी तरफ से क्या होगा?
One message that I will like to give is that it may so the students may have to give a lot of time towards the exam, but the type of environment that they will get at NLS, especially academic environment. One thing that a student at NLS can never regret is that they didn't study. Because in many educational institutes, students can just pass through exams. They can read guides and pass through exams. There are very few educational institutions like Indian Institute of Science, IIT Bombay, and other institutes where students are actually where students cannot pass exams or cannot get through the year without reading substantially. So NLS is one of such institutions where it prepares students to prepare students in a very well manner for the challenges of the law school. So when one advantage of studying at NLS is that when students get out to do practice, they already has a lot of knowledge and practice that they have gained and training that they have gained in the law school that help them to move ahead of their career in a very fast manner.
Right.
So this benefit of studying at NLS, the so much level of studying might be frustrating and other things. Let's keep those issues aside. This particular benefit of studying at NLS, I think this will this particular thing should motivate any students who wants to do law, who has a very strong reason to pursue law career. This the opportunities that are being provided at NLS, that should be that should provide one of the biggest motivation to devote whatever it gives to the exam. So that's one uh, thing that I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, sir, for devoting so much amount of your time for this session. We are really thankful at the mentorship project that you've taken out so much amount of time to guide students and to make people aware about that there is an option to prepare for law and get a degree of LLB even post your graduation. So considering कि आजकल कितना trend चल रहा है कि 5 year है and people who are unable to figure out what they want to do in their life, they can always opt for law post any degree, no matter what degree they are pursuing. So thank you so much once again, sir. And I hope that we're connected to you even post these sessions for multiple sessions about how life in NLS is. And you can guide our students regarding how they can manage their law school, their internships, etc., and their academics as well. So thank you, sir, for
Sure.
coming up.
Welcome.
Thank you.